here we are again at number 4 in our top 10 singles list. I'm going to start us off now. Shakespeare's Sister and Stay. So this is the 1992 single from the 1992 album Hormonally Yours. Quite an interesting one in that this was a song that they didn't care for that much when they wrote it, didn't really plan on having it on the album, and then it turned out to be, I mean, quite obviously their biggest hit ever. And the only song with Marcella Detroit on the lead vocals as well, at least off that album. I mean, what can you say about the song that hasn't already been said? It's a fucking amazing song, really gothic, really moody, just all kinds of swishy ambience and stuff like that.
I mean, what I liked about that was they looked great. The completely different kind of vocalists, and they got that across in the video. The video's outstanding as well.
Yeah.
Just that real gnarly vocals of Siobhan, and then a nice, sweet vocals of Marcella. And it was just great combination.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
Especially the vocal range of Marcella as well. Those high notes, it's inhuman how someone can manage to hit those kind of highs. But it sounds fantastic. The song itself kind of isn't really indicative of the album at all. The rest of the album is pretty much just straight up pop, and that's Stay's a really gothic kind of edgy song. But the B-side is Trouble with Andre, and that's a lot more indicative of what the album as a whole sounds like. It's kind of got that sort of FM synthy stuff at the start, that kind of classic poppy fake synth piano, and then kind of moves into kind of a guitar-driven bit halfway through. So the two of them together work really well because if you buy the song, at least at the time, if you bought the song for the song, you'd then get a taste of what the album was actually like with the B-side, which is nice. I read up that Dave Stewart, who at the time was Siobhan Fahey's husband, he sort of wrote kind of the kind of main bulk of the song, and it was sort of based off of I think it was a Catwoman from the Moon or something like that. It's a weird film from the 50s.
Right.
It doesn't come across in the lyrics or the song, to be honest, so I don't know where the inspiration from that came. But to be fair, the rest of the album, there's a few references to Catwomen and Claws, and loads of references to the Nighttime and the Moon, so maybe it's kind of just a little bit of a underlying concept across the entire album, perhaps. But in this song in particular, I can't see it. But regardless of whether or not the influence is or isn't there, it's a fantastic song and a fantastic album as well. So anybody who hasn't heard the album or the song, definitely check them out, because they are, as far as I'm concerned, an exemplary example of 90s pop. They sound fantastic. I
mean, it's probably another one of my star stories, but I know Siobhan really well. And we've had a few records out with her, and she's an amazing person. But I think she's over in the US now. She's a songwriter. But we released a record with her, and also as part of a band called The Droids, we had a label called God Made Me Hardcore, and we released a single of hers called Bitter Pill that Andy from The Droids produced. Became good friends, released a single, but she's incredible. But they just released the anniversary of the album. Quite recently. Is that 20 years?
Yeah, it would have been last year, yeah.
Yeah. So I know that got released of the anniversary. I don't actually have a copy of the album, and I should have it. I'm thinking I should have had that.
Yeah.
But I do have that.
It is fantastic. Like I said, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of 90s pop with that slight rock tinge, that album is so perfect. It flows really well, it sounds amazing, and the performances on it are unreal. It's a really, really amazing album.
Brilliant, good choice. I really want to listen to that. I've not heard that for such a long time. I want to have a listen to that now. So on my number 4, I'm kind of cheating a bit because I found it really, really difficult to choose my number 4. So I'm doing a 4.0 and a 4.1. So they're going 2 singles for the price of 1. Mark didn't know until we kind of turned up today that I was doing this. So my number 4, and it's one of my... In fact, we've just done a cover of this record for our new album that's coming out. And it's a whole Italo disco. I'm a massive Italo disco fan with all the kind of space disco stuff. I got a huge amount of records in that vein. What I liked about the Italo disco was all the synthesizers they used. Really kind of obvious pop lyrics and harmony. Sometimes people couldn't even sing, but it's just sounding incredible. The one I've chose, my number 4, is from a band called BWH. It's not actually a band called BWH because this is actually a DJ producer called Stefano Zito and his wife Helena. They produced this as BWH, but they also produced it under different names. From Italy, 1983. It was released on a label called House of Music, and it's basically BWH with Stop and Living Up. So if you're a big Italo fan, you're going to know this record, but we did a cover version of this, which we released as a single, and it's also on our album as well. I did a bit of research. There's not a lot to find out about this, but it always turns up in people's kind of Italo collections or Italo mixes. Again, DJ Hell did a Italo mix and he had this. You've got IF did mixes using this as well, so it's always in really good Italo DJ mixes. It took a long time to find this single, and it cost me so much money to find this single. There was a couple of reissue labels later on, which I'm probably going to do something on. They did a re-release of this on a 12-inch, a couple of mixes and stuff like that, but this is the original 7-inch. There is a 12-inch exists, but I can't find it. There is not much information on this. All I found was on the 7-inch, the artist is named as BWH instead of B.W.H. And that's the only thing I could find out about this record, and the fact that it was a producer and his wife Helena, who was a famous film actress at the time. They released several different records, but only one is BWH. They kept changing the name, and I think that was kind of a lot of people did that back then. They just released the record as a single. It was all about the music and the single, not about the bands. But that is my number 4 at BWH. Stop/Listen. If you haven't heard this and you love your Italo disco, this is it. So that's my 4.0. So for my 4.1, not there's going to be any more than that. I had to have this band somewhere in one of my lists. So they didn't appear in my top 20 albums. They're definitely going to appear in this one, and it's Soft Cell. We may have another Star Story in a minute. This is just an avenue for me to talk about me and all the people I've worked with. Mark knows that. So this is Soft Cell. I mean, there's an array of records of theirs. I mean, my favourite Soft Cell record of all time is Bedsitter. But this one, if I had to choose something I'd listen again and again, it's definitely this one, and it's Soft Cell, Soul Inside. So it's quite a late single. When I say a late one, it wasn't any of the obvious ones, like Your Tainted Love, Your Bedsitter, A Sailor Wave Goodbye, all of them. This was off the second album, The Art of Falling Apart, and I think as a band they were actually falling apart. I think there was drugs involved, the band weren't getting on with the label. I think Mark was off doing his Mark and the Mambas at the time, which is huge. I think they were definitely going off the rails. They go for that kind of gothy look. But this is quite different. If you listen to it, it's very different than the rest of the album. The rest of the album is really kind of somber and quite dark, and some of the instrumentation you hear on the album is quite aggressive. Whereas this one's kind of like, when you hear it, it's brilliant. And I love the lyrics in it as well. The lyrics are great. And I always, when I was younger, this came out in 1983. What is it about 1983? There you go. There was that connection. I was 13 at the time, and I used to listen to this, and I used to imagine myself on stage singing this song. It never ever happened, but I just loved this. This actually I've got some information here. Got to number 16, I believe. Yes, you got to number UK, number 16. I actually thought it got higher than that, but it didn't. But that is my number 4, and that is Soft Cell. I mean, I'm not going to talk about Soft Cell. We all know who Soft Cell are. Marc Almond and Dave Ball. Marc Almond I know as well. I've done some records with Marc Almond as well. I'm not going to talk about that. That's another story. But that's my number 4. Soft Cell, Soul Inside. If you haven't heard it, check it out. And especially the album that it came from. Have you heard the album? I mean, you must have heard Non-Stop Erotic Dancing and all that. But have you heard the Art of Falling Apart?
I don't know if I have.
Check it out. I think you might like it. Definitely check it out. That'll probably make an appearance at some point. I'm sure at some point I'm going to do my favourite Soft Cell records. And that will definitely appear in it. But yeah, if you haven't heard it, check it out. And definitely check out BWH. And it is on streaming if you can't afford the record. Because I barely couldn't afford this record, but I've got it. Okay, So thank you very much, and we'll see you on the next video.